All right, hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to do part 2 of our movie parody poster here. So yesterday we took our image and we took our picture of the Mandalorian poster and we altered it so that we could put Marlon Brando's head on here. We went through how to remove parts of an image and replace them with other parts. So that's kind of rehashing what we had already done. So now we're going to work on the type today. So today we have to replace this type down here with our new type that we want to change the title of this. In this case, we're going to change this to the Brandolorian because we replaced Boba Fett with Marlon Brando, and we're going to alter that type. So first, we got to look and we have to identify what type we actually have. Okay, so get in here, zoom in here. So looking at our type down here, now it's not a readily recognizable type, but noticing the type, like you see the iconic Star Wars, or it's a specific type. So matching that type is going to be important to the believability of your alteration here. So we're going to see if we can find a type here. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to get my type tool. Let's talk about the type tool in Photoshop and in Photopea. Okay, I'm going to do this all in Photopea for this one because it's virtually identical in Photoshop. But just so you can see the tools, and you guys are mostly using Photopea since you're moving remotely. So we're going to do that. First, we're going to go ahead and we're going to hit the type tool right here. Now, as soon as I click in my area, it's going to make a type layer here, and it's going to make a tiny little type box here. I got a fairly large picture here, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to type our word. I'm going to type my word, and right here it tells me what my font is. We can change that here. We have a drop-down menu. I've got some, if I have some different options for that actual font. This is the point size. It's 24. So let's go ahead and make that really big, 150. And color. Okay, our color here, we can click the color. I'm going to go ahead and click the color of the type in my picture. Okay, it looks white, but just don't always assume it is actually all the way white. So we're going to head and push OK. Okay, now we're going to start typing. I'm going to hold down caps because mine appears to be all capital letters. And what I'm going to do is Marlon Brando, the Brandolorian. So I'm going to type. Oop, I was going to cap lock here. Brandolorian. All right, so now I've got my type here, okay? Now, the type that I've got selected here clearly does not match what I have down here. So I need to match this type as best as I can to what is available here, okay? So let's look and see in our type tool here. First, I'm going to go, and just like I would in a word processor program, I'm going to double click to highlight the word that I want to modify. Now we're going to try and modify this type with a different font that matches the type that's in here, okay? So I'm going to click in here. All these options in here, okay? So it's got all of the fonts listed up here right now. And you see we got all kinds of different fonts, okay? So let's go ahead and eliminate some ones that we know it is not, okay? So when I look at the word Mandalorian down here, okay, is it black letter being big kind of block letter? Yes, it's that. Calligraphic? No, it's not like calligraphy or script, so we'll go ahead and uncheck that one. It's definitely not a comic script like a handwritten. It's definitely not dingbats, which are symbols. Display, not sure. Grunge, probably not. It's not really, that would allude to any ones that are kind of distressed or had any kind of texture added to them. Hand drawn, it's not a hand drawn texture or type. Monospaced, that's pretty tightly spaced, so we'll leave that one. Novelty, probably not. Pixel would be like a computer generated type, you know. Anti-alias, not really there. Programming, probably not. Retro, maybe. Okay, sans serif and serif, okay? When you look at words here, right here, serifs refer to the little hanging tags that are on images. Let me see here. So let's go. So on this one here, if I change it to this, serifs refer to, like on this letter I, the block that's on the top and the bottom. Those are serifs, okay? This would be an example of a sans serif. So if I change it to this would be sans serif here, where it has no tags on the top and bottoms of the letters, okay? So this definitely has no of those little ledges on the top and bottoms of the letters. So that would be a sans serif type. Okay, so go ahead and select that. Going back down, we were on sans serif. So sans meaning no. Okay, so we're going to uncheck serif. Okay, we're not a script type either. It should be like a handwritten. Slab serif, kind of. Stencil could be considered stencil. Typewriter, definitely not a typewriter like font. Okay. So there, after we kind of eliminated all those, we've got all these, and then we got some other choices for languages over here. We're just going to leave those alone for right now. So you've got all these different ones. So you kind of go here, and we're going to look at just part of the letters. Instead of trying to focus on the entire word, let's just look at some of the individual letters. Let's look at the O here and how it's kind of blockish. So we're going to try and find some O's that change in here to make our letters kind of blockish. Okay. And so I'm going to click on that. So see how my O is very round and not blockish. So that's not going to work. So I'm just going to keep going through here and looking for some ones that work for me. Okay. And I found a couple fonts just to speed things up here. I found one that was called Fork. Get to that one. So this one's kind of similar. So that's not too far off. So I could probably work with that one. Or I also found another one that was called Molot. This one here, which is also similar, gives me that kind of blockish look. But the A is different. So I could alter that A and everything. But let's say you can't find a similar font at all. You have a very distinct font, you can't find it. Sometimes we got to go look for those fonts, okay? So let's say we're going to go look for that font, okay? So let's say I can't find anything in all these hundreds of different ones that really fits, that works close enough for me to use. And I've looked through all of them. I can't find any that really fits my needs, and I need to load another font, okay? So let's go in here. So it's called the Mandalorian, okay? So let's just go and do a Google search of the Mandalorian, okay? Now, a place where we can get some free fonts is the font. Okay, so I type in Mandalorian font. Okay, not Mandalorians. If I type in Mandalorian, I'm going to get, information on the series, and that is not what we want. I'm talking specifically about the font. Font's another word for the alphabet or letters, the typography we're using here. Okay, my first search here comes up on the font, Mandalorian font. I click on that. Okay. Hey, there is my font. There's that specific A and the specific O like that. I've got a whole bunch of different ones here, okay? So you go over here, and if you say, okay, I'm going to download. Now, this is very specific. The font, I've used it before. It's a safe place. There are plenty of places that aren't safe on the internet, so be careful where you're clicking, okay? A lot of the places sell fonts, so you might be asked to pay for the fonts, okay? Which is, if somebody designed that font, they deserve to be paid for that, okay? Defont.com is a free place where free fonts are available, okay? So I would stick to that, or Font Zone is another one that I recommend, okay? Any other place, you're on your own, so be careful where you click while you're out there on the interwebs. Okay, so if I decide I'm going to get that, hey, I'm going to get that, and I just click download. That'll come over here to my downloads. I'm going to say show in folder. Okay, now that's going to come as a zipped file. So I'm just going to double click that, and it's going to extract that. To my fonts. So I'm going to go and open with my archive utility or unzip it, okay? And it's going to put it up in here. And I've got my fonts saved up here, okay? So when you click on these, it's going to unzip it into a folder up here, okay? And you'll see I've got all those fonts, okay? So that's great, Mr. G. So how do I load that into that program? In order to load that, I can, if I'm on, it was on Photoshop and I was working on my machine, I would just double click it and install it on my machine, but we're on Photopea, so we need to load it up there. So we're going to go back over here to our website, okay? And we're going to go back to Photopea, okay? going back to our fonts again, okay? And we're going to say we want to load a font. And it's going to say, sure, you want to load a font? Where's that font at? Okay. I'm going to go back to my downloads. I'm going to go back to that Mandalore unzipped file, and I'm going to click the one I want to use. Okay. This one has a little Boba Fett inside of the A. I don't want to use that one. Or do I? Maybe I will just use that one there. All right. So we're going to use that guy right there. Because I have it with Boba Fett or without there. So I'm going to say open, and it's going to load all those up. Photopia is going to tell you you can go ahead and manage that and local storage that and load it every time you can if you like. Tells you how to do that if you like. So now I've got my Mandalorian loaded. Okay, now I can go over here, and if I scroll down to my Mandalorian, or just type MAND, there's that Mandalore font. Okay. Now I need to retype this because the caps lock is going to give me those A's. Okay, so we're going to retype this without the caps lock. Brandolorian. All right, so there we go. I've got my font launched. I've got super happiness going on. All right, so now we're going to resize this to approximately the same size. I'm going to put it right over top of my word, and I am just going to stretch it out until it covers my new one. Okay, there we go. So I've got it sized up. All right, super. All right, now I'm going to just move it up out of the way. So now I've got my new word. I've got my type. I'm all set there. Now I need to get this word out of the way. Now you'll notice I've got some imagery behind there. I've got some of my Boba Fett figure back there behind there. I've got some landscape back there that I need to get rid of. So how are we going to get rid of that? Okay. First thing, I'm going to go to that layer. Okay. You notice I've made a duplicate just in case I mess something up and need that original file again. Okay. I'm going to go to my layer 2 where my poster is at. Okay. Now I'm going to remove it. There's several ways we could do this. We could go and we could just use your rubber stamp tool and get a fairly big brush. And I could set my option here to use that source, and I could start painting that out. That's one way. I could just get my paintbrush and just start painting it by hand and painting the areas out, okay? But we're going to try to do an automatic fill here and try to get rid of that. So we're going to go up here, and we're going to select the area we want to get rid of. So I'm going to select fairly close to my word that I want to remove, and I'm going to remove the whole word here at a time. Okay, so I select that whole area. Now I'm going to go up here to edit, and I'm going to go to fill, and I'm going to go to content aware fill. Okay, now this is going to take some time for it to think about what to do, so be patient. It's working. All right, so as that's going, now I selected the whole word. You could try to do it in parts, but what it's looking at is trying to decide what you're trying to remove. So it's using some AI, just like Photoshop does, to decide what you want to remove, okay? Now you'll see once it got done doing its thinking, it did a great job of taking away that word, okay? But it did replace it with a few things that we didn't need, okay? This is going to be different every time you try it, okay? So it's going to be a little bit different, okay? But that is going to do a pretty good job of getting things out of my way that I don't want there. So I'm going to hit Command D to take away my selection. That's not bad. Now I just need to get rid of these words here, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use my paintbrush tool and my rubber stamp tool to go ahead and replace the rest of these things here. Okay. For outside on here, I'm just going to take and use my option key and set my option right here. I'm going to take my brush and make it a bit softer. Maybe a bit bigger here too. And option right about there. Just going to click across there to kind of take away that white. Okay. Now I don't have to have this completely perfect, right? Because your word is going to go in front of it. So you just have to have it pretty well hidden from space, okay? So it doesn't draw any attention. Remember to reset your clone source. Get a soft brush and kind of click a few times. I'm going to do some special stuff in my gun over here. I might just go and paint that in, okay? And I can get up close here so I can see what's going on. Hit that clone source again, and I think I'm going to paint from right here. I think I'm going to have to get my brush tool first. Okay, I'm going to hold my Option key to select colors. I'm going to select that color right there. And I'm just going to paint this in right here. Grab some of those other colors and just kind of break up that shape a little bit. Soften my brush up a little bit. Hardness, take that down. Say we're not looking for, a super perfect job, just enough to not draw notice to it when it's behind there. And again, I am just painting with my paintbrush here, kind of taking out those places. Okay, now I'm going to switch back to my clone brush here. Paint out the rest of these lines right here. I'm going to set the clone down here. I need to make my brush a little bit smaller. And Z. Zoom out just a little bit here. And first I'm going to paint out this little Disney stripe here. Just kind of reset my clone source to hide that. And again, we are just trying to hide this area here, not make a perfect match. Kind of got, so depending on how much information you've got behind there, if you've got some really detailed things going on back there, you might need to switch it back to my brush here, selecting my paint right here, paint away that little area right there, breaking up the space a little bit. All right, I'm going to zoom out and look, okay? Now that is a pretty good cover-up job there. Like I said, it doesn't need to be perfect, and I could go in and work on that for a while. I'm going to go ahead and place my words. I'm going to go back to my words, and I'm going to place my words in there, okay? Then I'm going to look at my file. All right. So there I have replaced my words, okay? Now at this point, you're pretty close to being finished, okay? Notice I have everything placed on my background here, okay? So this is my 9x12 that is back here on my background. So make sure you place your entire image on that 9x12. You can make it black or white, it's up to you. Let's go ahead and change this to black. We'll go ahead and dump with the paint bucket tool some black in there. Push OK, make sure I'm on my background layer. Unlock it. Get my paint bucket tool. And then I can go ahead and open up all the rest of my files, okay? Now I am all done. I can go ahead and save my file. I'm going to save this as a PSD file in order to save it to my machine. And then I'm going to save it as, I'm going to export as a JPEG so that I can turn it into Google Classroom, okay? Again, do careful work if you wanted to go and add a tagline or anything like this. So if I wanted to go and add right under here something that made sense, that helped drive my point home, like a quote from the Godfather movies, I made him a deal I couldn't refuse, something like that, that would help drive your idea, go ahead and do that. But take a look. Remember, your eyes and your design choices are your best tools that you can use. All right. Do careful work, do good work, and I will see you soon.